Hello and welcome. This is the Bytes vsbytes podcast. I'm your host, Groot, and today with me is Rolf de Groot. He is one of the founders for Restoranto.
Hey,
Welcome.
yes, thanks for having me.
No problem at all. I think it's very interesting to look into what you are doing. So could you tell me a little bit about yourself and also how you got to start Restoranto?
Yeah, so my name is Rolf de Groot. I'm Dutch, and it was right after I graduated. I studied business administration in Rotterdam that I decided to travel, and I traveled through Africa, the east part of it, and which was really nice. It was beautiful. And at some point, we decided to go with a bus from Uganda to Tanzania, which was a 52-hour bus drive without airco.
Oh my God.
Which was quite hardcore, but like in hindsight, one of the most beautiful experiences I've ever experienced. And I was reading the news on my phone, and I read an article which was saying that a lot of restaurants are throwing away a lot of food in the Netherlands.
Mm-hmm.
And it was when I was reading that, I looked outside and I saw kids, begging for food, and you see the poverty, and of course, there's a lot of poverty going on over there. But when you see it, I don't know, it impacted me quite a lot. So I was reading that we are throwing away a lot of food, and they don't have enough food, which for me was really a trigger. Like, I need to do something with it. Like, I don't know what, but I want to do something with that. So then when I got back home, I was thinking about that, and then the idea for the first Restoranto app came, which was an application which could be used by restaurants to tell people around their restaurant, like, hey, we have food which is about to expire, come and get it for like a big discount, and then for every meal you book, we will donate a meal to a kid in Uganda. That was how it started.
That was the idea.
Yeah.
So to get back to that first part, so you graduated and then you had an idea to travel. Why was that?
I was quite young when I graduated. I was like 22, and I wasn't really sure what I was going to do. Like, I knew I wanted to do a startup. I don't know. I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I had no clue what. And I had some savings, so I figured, this is the time. Let's just go for it. And I went to Asia, but then also to Africa. And that was pretty cool.
Why those two? Because of the different cultures, or why was that?
Yeah, it was the reason why I went to Africa is because a friend of mine, he was involved in a charity, and he asked if I could help him out a little bit. So I decided, let's do that. And that's when I went there.
And where did that feeling of changing something in this kind of space come from? Because it has a really noble cause when you think about it, right? So why was that? So why did you feel something needed to be done, even though of course you saw the impact that it was having there? But have you always had that feeling of trying to change something, to try and impact something?
I'm definitely not gonna say that I'm like Mother Teresa or anything like that. Like, not at all.
No.
But I do feel like we are quite lucky to live here in the Netherlands and to be born here. Good education, and I think that's basically what makes it for me. Like, hey, if there's anything I can do, I think we should do it if it's possible.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't think that way, to be honest. A lot of people do donate to charities and stuff like that, but really try and change something in our society, which is even more impact. That doesn't happen a lot. So when I look at the app, so how does it work? So how does it work for someone that wants to use the app, but also how did you get to this point where you're at right now? Because you went through a few versions to get here.
So I'll first explain what the app does.
Yeah.
So the app is called Restoranto, and what it does, it shows you the menus of restaurants around you, but the prices of these menus, they aren't fixed. So they fluctuate based on when you want to eat. What time, what day, what restaurant. So we do this to help restaurants get people in the door when there's not a lot of people there. So for you as a consumer, this means that going out to a restaurant when there's not a lot of people there means higher discounts. So you get rewarded to go during off-peak hours to these restaurants.
Oh, okay. And the first idea was the one with the expiration and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, so basically what we noticed is restaurants, they are willing to give discounts if their food expires. But we started also noticing that restaurants, they are also putting up discounts just because they want people during the slow hours. So then I was thinking like, hey, these restaurants, they are not willing to always give discounts, but if there's not a lot of people there, they are willing to give these discounts.
Yeah.
So that first experiment basically eventually resulted into this.
Yeah. So you kind of have the when you look at the website and stuff like that, you're already saying like, okay, it can be up to 70%, right?
Yeah.
So how does that even work? Because usually when you look at prices in restaurants, okay, they're pretty high sometimes, but it's not that high that you say people are making, I don't know, 70% margins are on things. So how does that work?
Yeah. So when we sign up a restaurant, they give us the menu and they tell us these are the normal prices, but these are our minimum prices. Like we are willing to give it away for this price. And then we wrote you can call it an algorithm or formula, which then will calculate like, okay, right now this is not a busy moment. There's not a lot of people around there. There's not a lot of people in the restaurant, so we will push the price towards the bottom end of their price setting. And so yes, the prices, the discounts are up to 70%, but that's only when there's not a lot of people in the restaurant, and it's only the first few bookings. Like, because if you book and I book 10 minutes later at the same restaurant, I will already pay more than you.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So how do you know when the busy times are? Because that can fluctuate between restaurants.
Yes, definitely. So we use data from the restaurants in the past. Like, we know which days are slow days. We know which times are slow hours, and we use that data in combination with like real-time data from the restaurant.
Yeah, because I don't know if Google Maps supports it, but you know when Google Maps has the kind of this is how busy it is.
Yeah,
right?
so we use that data in combination with just talking to the restaurant, like, hey, can you show us what are good days, what are bad days?
Yeah.
So it is indeed different for each restaurant.
So do you need to fill that in manually, or is it something that you already integrate with maybe their kind of register system or whatever you want?
Yeah, we're working on that right now to cooperate with these register systems. But a lot of it we do manually, and then we check real time. We check on the bookings we are getting through our app to sort of determine whether it's busy or not.
Yeah. So people probably ask you, what's in it for the restaurants, right? So of course, everybody knows it's good to not waste food and stuff like that, and get more people at different times. But what's actually in it for them?
Yeah, so I would like to compare it with a plane. Let's say there's a plane which is flying tomorrow from the Netherlands to Bali, and the plane is half filled. There's a lot of empty seats left over. At that moment, they're willing to give a huge discount because it's flying anyway, and they want to fill up the seats. I think with a restaurant, it's not one-on-one similar, but there's a lot of similarities because they have food already, which they bought. They have their building, like they're already paying rent. They have staff, which is already there. Like there's a lot of fixed costs, which they're already paying. And during those moments, it's better to still make a sale, but like on a lower profit, than not make a sale at all.
Yeah, because in the sum of it all, it has more mass, right? You're getting money in. Yeah. That's the thing. Because the crazy thing to me is that sometimes I'm walking past restaurants and I'm like, how do these guys even make money, right?
Yes, I understand that.
They open at like 3 in the afternoon or something like that, and nobody's going to come in at 3 in the afternoon.
I'm wondering sometimes as well, how does that work?
Yeah. But what types of restaurants do you usually support? So I can imagine that there are a lot of restaurants that want this, right? So what types are there?
Yeah. So another feature of this app, so it's the dynamic prices, so discounts when there's not a lot of people. But the second one is pre-ordering. So if you book through Restoranto, you can already inform the restaurant like, hey, this is what I want to eat. This is the time I want to eat it, which will then make that if you arrive at the restaurant, the food is ready. So what we currently see is a lot of the restaurants which are signing up at Restoranto, they are close to office buildings. Because people who have a job, they might have a 30-minute lunch break. They have the money to go to these restaurants, but they don't have the time. So they will just skip that restaurant, maybe go to a supermarket, buy food. But now, if they are able to pre-order, they can go to the restaurant, eat there, and when they're done eating, they can just leave because they already paid through the app. So Restoranto enables these restaurants to open up for a new target group during lunch, basically.
Ah, okay, that makes sense. That is during a good hour, though.
Yeah.
So you maybe won't get the discounts that you would expect there.
I mean, you can still decide to go for lunch 1 hour later or earlier.
Sure.
But you're right.
Yeah. Because if you're doing it between, I mean, in the Netherlands, it's usually between 12 and 1, something like that. So if you go at like maybe 1:30 or whatever, so it could be a better one.
Yeah,
it's interesting because we have a restaurant just next to our building here. Yeah. So when we go there, we're like, okay, but I have to order, and it's gonna take maybe 15 to 20 minutes at least to get my order and get everything ready, right? And that's something that's even in some cases more interesting than just the discounts, right? It's just saving time.
Yeah, so in the beginning, we didn't have the dynamic prices. We only had the pre-ordering. And what we saw then is like it was used by like mostly business people. But now actually what I'm seeing is, I think, students. And like there's a different type of group who's now also using our app. Yeah. So for us, that's also quite interesting. Like, who should we target? Like, maybe it's both target groups. Yeah, that's what we're figuring out right now.
Yeah, I think it's both in that sense, because students are always looking for a bargain, of course, but they also have irregular times, right?
Yeah,
and that's the thing.
They're flexible.
They're flexible in that sense that, usually businesses, you will see that people go around the same time, right? So they're going at 12 or 12:30 or whatever.
Yeah.
But students are like, okay, maybe I get up at 1 or something like that, right?
No, a few weeks ago, I was at one of our restaurants, and I booked through Restoranto, obviously. And
eat your own dog food in that sense, yeah.
So I was there, and then I heard a guy came in. He's like, hey, I ordered through Restoranto. Oh, okay, go have a seat. Crazy. So I went to him like, hey, I heard you use Restoranto. I work there. Can you tell me a little bit about it? Do you like it? He was like, dude, this is awesome. It saved me so much money. Like, he was obviously the student who uses it to save money, which was really cool to hear that from him.
Yeah, and they of course need to go to school, and school hours can be irregular and stuff like that. That also can happen, of course. Yeah. How is that for you to see it in action in that sense?
It's really cool. Yeah. Like, because for me, this was an idea I had for quite a long time. But then obviously there's a lot of development work in the meantime, and it takes a lot of revisions. Like it just takes a lot of time to build this. But then to see the process from just it being an idea to actually people using it, people who I don't know, people who I've never met, people who don't even know, like I did this with few people. But then they are using it and telling me how awesome it is. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah,
it's a bit like this. I have that with the podcast as well.
Yeah,
of course. I mean, it's cool when someone says, "Oh, I listen to your podcast."
Yeah,
it's really weird, like a weird thing. Like you're doing this in a meeting room somewhere. Yeah. You're just recording it and just putting it live, and
that's
people
awesome.
Are listening to it.
Yeah,
it's crazy, but I think. It's interesting to get into starting up a little bit.
Yeah.
So how did that work? Because you have some technical knowledge, but actually creating the app and stuff like that, you probably need someone for that.
Yeah.
So how did that process go?
Yeah. So the first version of this app, which was not too good. It was just an idea I had so the restaurants could put up a deal on a last minute basis if food is about to expire. And I envisioned it like, it should look like this. I just drew it on paper. Like, I'm not too good with drawing, so it looked really ugly. But so I drew it on paper, and then I showed it to a friend of mine who is a designer. I said, can you maybe make something of this? Because I want to show it to people. I want to tell people I want to, maybe raise money with an investor. I want to have something to show. So he made a design of that. And actually, there are tools online, as you probably also know. Like, if you have a design, you can tap on it. It sort of works.
It's a mock-up, yeah.
A mock-up, yeah. It doesn't really work, but it gives you the feeling of how it would work.
Yeah.
So then we had an idea, and then we were looking for developers. And then I realized developers are more expensive than I thought. I had no clue. I just graduated. I know how much do you pay?
For sure. I mean, and when you look at freelance, it's even more.
It's really high, the prices. So I put up a job on freelancer.com, and I said, this is what I want to have. This is what it should look like. Can you tell me how much it costs? Well, I think within 4 hours, we got like 90 replies with quotes, like within 4 hours. And then
shady.
Yes. We eventually decided to go for one of them. I actually called some references and they were positive. It was a company based in India. Okay. And actually what they built, it was good, as in it worked. But then later on, when a project was finished, I asked them like, hey, can you maybe incorporate push notifications? Yeah, we can do that. We will build it. And then 2 weeks later, I was like, hey, how's the push notifications coming along? Yeah, it's almost done. And actually 1.5 months later, they still weren't working. And then they called me like, yeah, Ralf, actually, we don't really know how to do it.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so then I had a friend who was a developer look at the code and he was like, oh my God, Ralf, you have a big problem. Apparently the code, it was terrible. Like it worked, but the code, it was quite a big mess.
Yeah, and that's the disadvantage of not having the technical knowledge, of course.
Yes, for sure.
But how did it come from there? So you get this, of course, this first version that didn't work. You couldn't integrate the push notification, or at least they couldn't do that. How do you go from there? Because you probably already had to invest something into that. How do you go from there?
Yeah, so I did get a lot of feedback from the restaurants who were working with Restoranto, which basically already led me to the idea of the app which we are currently running. But I understood now, okay, if we want to do this well, we need to do it by developers who are experienced. It's going to take a lot of, it's going to cost a lot of money. So I figured, okay, we need to probably raise money from an investor. So I created a pitch. I joined a startup competition. It's called Present Your Startup here in the Netherlands.
Okay.
And it was hosted by Jort Kelder. We came in the finals, which was really cool.
But he's famous in the Netherlands.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, he's quite famous. Yeah. Which was really cool because after I did my pitch, I got a lot of really tough questions from the crowd. Like, yeah, but this is never going to work. But then he really believed in the idea. It was like, no, it's going to work. And he really answered the questions for me. So that video of that pitch, that I put that on LinkedIn. And then it was like maybe 2 weeks later, then I got a phone call like, hey, Ralf, I saw your video on LinkedIn. Do you still need money? Yeah, I need money. And then we raised money from two
That was
investors.
an investor that contacted you.
Yes.
So how did he see the video? Was it because it was shared that much, or?
Yeah, it was shared quite a lot. And I think a friend of him pointed at the video like, you should talk to that guy.
Oh, okay, that's crazy. Because a lot of people don't see LinkedIn as a kind of a good way to find these kind of investors, right? They're like, okay, you can link up, and everybody's like, okay, but if I post it there, will it be shared and stuff like that?
Yeah, right? I think maybe we got lucky. Could very well be. Yeah, I think so.
Of course. So, do you know why he believed in the idea so much?
It was mainly to do because of the dynamic pricing. And if you think about it, well, at least in my opinion, it is quite obvious. Like dynamic pricing, it is working if you book a hotel room, like the prices are fluctuating. Yeah. It's working if you book a flight ticket, like they're making a lot of money on dynamic pricing. If you think about it, it's pretty weird that it doesn't work in restaurants.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And then I figured, okay, and I told him, like, the reason why it's not working in restaurants is because restaurants, they have a paper menu and it's impossible to change the price every 5 minutes. And I pitched that to him and he's like, yeah, let's do it.
That's crazy, yeah. And the interesting part is I listened to a podcast a while ago. It was by Tim Ferriss. Yeah. And he was talking to Nick Kokonis, I think his name was. Okay. He was a restaurateur, so he had like restaurants and stuff like that. And the crazy thing is that he actually he wasn't in the restaurant business at all. He started in the restaurant business with some chef that he knew and stuff like that. But the interesting part here was that he actually was like, okay, these kind of point of sale systems and stuff like that, it's really not working for me. Because it had to do with actually booking and stuff like that. Yeah. And what they did was actually create software. Yeah. Which is crazy as a restaurant to think
invest
about.
in that.
Yeah, because they were like, okay, the systems that are there are just not working for us.
Yeah.
So we're going to create
That's crazy.
our own system to do that. And I think the system is still pretty successful. Not sure what the name is, but
that's really cool.
But that's interesting from my perspective, because that's something that someone that doesn't have maybe the knowledge required to start a restaurant, let alone start software, start creating software in that sense. So what I was wondering about is, you got that initial investment. So how did you pick what to invest in? Because you get some cash to burn, of course, and not burn literally, but to spend. To spend on stuff. So what did you spend it on most, and what did you look at?
Yeah, I made some mistakes definitely there.
Those are good to learn from as well.
No, so the most of the cash went into development of the app, obviously, because that's quite expensive. And then marketing. But I mean, also we tried a lot of things like flyers, stickers, posters, like you name it. If somebody had an idea, like you should try that. And then because you raise funding, and it is quite a lot of money, but for me, definitely it was quite a lot of money just being graduated.
Yeah.
You think, we have all the money in the world. You burn faster than you should in hindsight. Like now I realize, like some of the things we bought also new MacBooks, which I still use. So in that sense,
but that's a different investment, right?
Yeah.
But what was the biggest mistake?
The biggest mistake,
because a lot of people can learn from those mistakes.
Yeah. Well, I think I don't know if it's the biggest, but it felt like the biggest. Is we bought these saddle covers, which you can put on a bike, which then said Restoranto, blah blah.
Oh yeah. Bikes are huge in the Netherlands, of course. So I get why you did that.
But then, like these things, we paid like I think maybe over €1,000, so not that expensive, but still. And then after like 1 week, if people ride on these bikes, you don't see Restoranto anymore on it. Like the paint, it was just gone, and it didn't really convert to any app users. Like it was just one of these things. Like, oh, that's pretty cool to do. Let's do it. But I never really researched whether it actually converts people to buying customers, and it was more fun in hindsight.
What was the best investment?
Ooh, the best investment.
Because, of course, development is very important, but there are a lot of things that can make or break a product in that sense. But what was the best one, do you think?
That's a super good question. I think, honestly, this sounds maybe bad, but I think Facebook advertising for us, it works really well. I think Restoranto is the type of product where people like to talk about, as in, hey friend, if I tell this to you, you're going to save money. So people don't mind sharing it with their friends. So I think these kind of social advertisement for us, they convert pretty well.
Yeah, and that makes sense, because that's the type of product it is, right? It's kind of a networking product in that sense, because you want to get as much people as possible to use the app, because it's also beneficial for the restaurants in the end. So as you said, when someone orders, the other one that's going to order is going to pay a little bit more. Yeah. But it kind of enhances that network effect in that sense. So have you done anything like trying to get more people to use it by sharing or whatever? Yeah,
so currently we are doing a little experiment where if you downloaded Restoranto, 1 hour after you get a push notification which tells you, hey, use this promo code to get €5 off, which is really nice. But then also it says, tap here to share it with your friends and give your friends also €5, which then shares it through WhatsApp.
Okay.
So you're giving gifts to your friends, basically.
Yeah. A lot of apps do that as well. Yeah. When you look at for example, the ride sharing, the scooters and stuff like that, you're getting like 3 minutes to use, for example, a scooter around town to get more people on the app, of course. And that's interesting, because that as soon as you create this kind of networking effect where you have like people that are actually sharing it, but also saying, okay, I'm going to use it and maybe I can help you with something, right? By giving you this discount or whatever. That really works. You can see that all over the place, right? I mean, an Uber wouldn't be a success if they didn't have all those people that want to drive the cars for them.
For sure. Yeah.
So what when you look at these kind so how are you organized? So what kind of people do you have mainly in the company? Because you are with 10 people at the moment.
Yeah.
So how does that kind of differentiation look like? So how many developers, designers, and stuff like that?
Yeah, so the design I do myself, and then we have 3 developers, one for the Android app, one for the iOS app, and a backend developer.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rest of the team is basically split up in sales and marketing.
Okay.
So sales just means calling restaurants, knocking on their doors, getting them on the app. And with regards of marketing, we do quite a lot of content marketing. So we write a lot of blogs, which is actually going really well. We are getting like now 40,000 visitors a month through Google every month.
That's crazy, yeah.
And it's increasing every month quite a lot. So for us, that's working quite well.
Yeah, so that content marketing part is interesting because what do you write about in that sense?
It's really stupid. It's a lot of repetition, but where it comes down to is the best restaurants maybe in Rotterdam South or the best Spanish restaurants in Rotterdam, and then we do research. We make.
You go to the restaurants.
We go to the restaurants. We read a lot of reviews. We really do. We put in quite a lot of effort, and then these kind of lists are actually what people are searching for apparently, and we are in a lot of number 1 spots for these kind of things.
So let's talk about acquisition a bit because that's interesting. To get the restaurants in it could be a pretty hard because there are so many restaurants and so many food things in the Netherlands, but also in Rotterdam. So you mentioned that you call them. So how does that's kind of cold calling, right?
Yeah.
You're cold calling a restaurant and saying, oh, I have this app. Maybe it could be interesting to you. How does that go?
So yeah, we do 2 things. One, indeed, we cold call and then we say like, hey, we have something cool which could bring a lot of people to your restaurant. I know you're busy, so I won't bother you right now, but can I come for a cup of coffee next week? Yeah. And then they'll say, yeah, sure, or they don't. But a lot of them say, yeah, sure, you can come over. And then when we actually have the meeting with the restaurant, we just ask them like, hey, can you guess how long does the average lunch break take in the Netherlands? And then they say, yeah, maybe 30 minutes. Okay.
It's not true.
Well, it should. I don't know. Maybe. So then we ask them a second question. We ask them, okay, how long does it take to have lunch at your restaurant? Like including watching the menu, ordering, waiting for the food, paying.
Waiting for the waiter.
Yes. Yeah. So that's maybe 1 hour. And then we say, okay, that doesn't work. Yeah, you're right. And then we tell them about Restoranto, where you can pre-order to get people in the door who actually don't have time, but they can still come to eat at your restaurant.
That's the crazy incentive because it's just it's crazy in 2 ways. So you have the time saving, of course, but you also have the volume, right? So you can get more people in actually and faster out of the door. That's what you want as a restaurant because you want to get as much people as possible. Yeah,
some restaurants they tell us no, we have too many people already, and then we say okay. Then we have another idea. Well, not another idea, but another benefit for you because Restoranto users normally spend less time in your restaurant. This means you can sell your table twice. Well, then they get excited. Yes.
Yeah. And do you also do kind of takeout so people can order because not a lot of people or some people do prefer sitting in the restaurant themselves, but sometimes the restaurant doesn't even have seats.
Yeah.
So do you also do that?
Yeah, we also do takeaway for some restaurants indeed. Yeah. Actually, I think 2 weeks ago I bought Restoranto bags so they can put the food in the Restoranto bags, which I hope is another acquisition tactic, which will, people see the bag like, hey, what does it say?
Yeah, what you also see a lot is like the stickers, right, on the door.
Yeah, we have stickers on the door as well. Yeah, we're doing everything. Yeah,
you got it. But those are kind of the things that can push your brand because that's basically what it comes down to, right? Everybody should know that there is this app that's called Restoranto which you can use, right?
Yeah,
that's the idea.
Yeah,
that's interesting. So what I wanted to get into a little bit just shortly, you mentioned that you do the donations, right?
Yeah.
So you do a donation every time someone orders a meal. So how did that come about?
For me it was really a thing like I really want to do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, when I tried to raise funds with investors, quite some investors said no because of this. Because they said, well, if this is going to scale, you're going to give away a lot of money. I think it's stupid. And then I said, okay, then we're not making a deal.
Yeah, but that's not the right investor for you then.
No, definitely. So it was fine. We just separated our own way. So for me, it was really important. And the way we do it is for every booking, we send a small commission. Well, it's like 30 cents to buy like a proper meal in Uganda. We send 30 cents to a charity we have over there. And then we have quite a lot of volunteers who actually use that money to go to farmers. So they buy the food from local farmers, they cook it, and they give it to these kids. Which is another benefit because the farmers are also indirectly profiting from it.
That's crazy. That's really interesting because then you're supporting a local economy as well.
Yeah. I think Tom's shoes, I don't know if you know the brand, they give, if you buy a pair of Tom's shoes, they also give a pair of shoes in Africa.
Okay.
But they are being criticized quite a lot because they don't produce the shoes in Africa. They just produce them themselves. So they are destroying the shoe market.
I get it.
What people are saying then.
Yeah, but that makes sense. I mean, that's the fun part, right? When you can see that it also has that impact, not just the impact of people having a meal, but also supporting the local entrepreneurs there.
Yeah, I really like that.
So, how do you see some things changing in the future for kind of restaurant bookings and stuff like that? What do you see happening there? Because this is already different to what restaurants are used to. Yeah. So someone ordering in advance and then saying, okay, I'm going to be there at then and then. And how does it work?
Well, I think two big things. I think one is because of the dynamic pricing, I think there will be more balance in a restaurant. Like what you see right now, most restaurants, they are almost empty on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Friday, Saturday, they're always booked 2 weeks in advance. So I hope with dynamic pricing, there will be a more even spread. So it's cheaper, but then also for the restaurant, they make more on those slow days. So that's one. And I think two, one really cool thing we are now doing is if you actually book through Restoranto, we ask you for a review, but not just about the restaurant, but we know what you had for lunch or dinner. So we ask you for a review of the meal. Right now we are collecting all the data. Yeah. So it's not enough yet to do something with it. But at some point we want to say, hey, you should try the burger at this restaurant. Hey, you should try the lasagna at this restaurant.
A lot of people are saying it's good.
Yeah,
you can give recommendations in that sense.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's even more interesting way to look at it, because that's data that's also valuable for the restaurant, right? Because they will see, okay, this is not selling at all, right?
No.
This particular thing.
And also they can learn from the food, which is apparently making sure that their customers are telling other people like, oh my God, this lasagna was so good. So they should push their lasagna maybe more because it's working for them.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. So, what happens if you? I just popped into my head. So, what happens if you order something and you're like you're at the restaurant and you're like, it was actually not what I wanted. I wanted something else.
Yeah, that sucks. No, so if you're in the app, you see pictures of the food, you see a short description.
Yeah.
So you kind of know what you're gonna get. Obviously, sometimes it won't match your expectations.
That's different, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's just bad. That sucks.
Yeah, but basically it's just, okay, you ordered it.
Just like if you go to a restaurant normally, you order something and it's not what you wanted.
But you pay in advance, so that's different than the
normal. That's true. So, I mean, I guess you could ask the restaurant, like, hey, I'm sorry, this is really not what I like. But then I guess it's more up to the restaurant to deal with that.
If they want, they compensate you for that.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So, I want to wrap up, so I have one more question.
Yeah.
So what are you most proud of since you started this whole journey?
Yeah, well, actually, that was, I think, 2 months ago. I saw in our backend, obviously, that a lot of... there was one restaurant which got a lot of bookings. I think it was the Alice Gourmet Burger next to the Central Station in Rotterdam. Yeah. I think it was like 20 people who booked through us during lunch at that restaurant. So I wanted to go and check that out. So I also booked at that restaurant. And I came in that restaurant and I saw all these tables of people of which I knew, like, they booked through our app. And that was so cool, like, to be in there. Like, again, they didn't know who I was, so they had no clue. And I saw them sitting like, yes, we did this. That felt pretty cool.
Yeah, that must be a surreal thing.
Just again, like, you had an idea and now there's 20 people using it. Yeah, that's really awesome.
Did you actually talk to one of them?
I should have. I didn't. I didn't.
Why didn't you?
I should have. It's
an interesting story to say. Did you book through that?
Yeah.
I'm actually one of the
Yeah,
guys.
yeah. I should have in hindsight, but I was just too excited. And
yeah, I understand. I mean, it's completely normal. So, how can people find you on the internet?
Well, Restoranto, that's .com, that's our website.
Yeah.
And I guess me personally, my name is Ralf de Groot. And if you think it's an interesting story, feel free to add me on LinkedIn or whatever.
Sure. And of course, download the app.
Download the app, yes.
Yeah. It's currently is it just in the Netherlands or is it just in a particular area?
It's currently in Rotterdam, also Amsterdam. And then this fall, we're coming to The Hague and Utrecht.
Okay. That's good, actually. That's a good point to make. It's good to kind of start like that, right?
Yeah.
Especially in these kinds of systems, because if you were doing the whole of the Netherlands,
it's impossible.
Yeah, it's almost impossible in the beginning.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Very cool, interesting
Thanks,
story, Rolf. And thank you for being my guest. And of course, for the people listening, you can find the Bits vs. Bytes podcast on bitsvsbytes.com. And of course, all major podcasting platforms and Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram, it's all Bits vs. Bytes. And I started a newsletter. So if you want 5 interesting things about business, tech, or leadership, you can find it on bitsvsbytes.com/newsletter. And I would like to thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.